welcome to another Hayley-Roxanna crafts video. All the videos I have done so far have been cross-stitch related, but this video is going to be the first in my series of crochet videos. I haven't been crocheting anywhere near as long as I've been cross-stitching, but I do feel ready to share how I do things when I crochet to try and help others who may be starting out on their crochet journey. So in this video, I'm going to share what you need to get started with crochet. Some of the items are essentials, whereas some of the others are optional extras. So the first essential for crocheting is a crochet hook. This is my set that I like to use. Crochet hooks come in different sizes. On metric hooks like these, the size is given in millimeters. The smaller the number, the smaller the hook. So if I pull this one out, this one is only a 2mm hook, whereas this one is a 5mm hook. They go up in increments of 0.5. You can get absolutely massive chunky hooks, 12mm plus, if you need to. This is just sort of a standard smaller size set. This is the set that I use the most. The size of the hook that you need to use is often determined by the yarn that you are using, or the pattern you're following. Sometimes the size of the hook can be given as a letter or just a number rather than in millimeters. But you can get conversion charts to convert hooks found in these sort of sizes. These are not the metric hooks, so they could be like American ones, or even UK ones, Canadian ones. They can use letters, and there's Japanese sizes as well. But you can get conversion charts to find out what sizes these are in metric, or vice versa online. Crochet hooks also come in different styles. So if I pull out my 4mm hook from there, and I have got a couple of other 4mm hooks. See, they're all different styles, they've got different handles, but they are all still 4mm. You can also get hooks made from wood, as well as like metal and plastic ones. It is just personal preference as to which ones you use. And like I said, it's the size that's important rather than the handle. It's what you find most comfortable. I tend to prefer these sorts, but I know people who like ones that haven't got any sort of thicker handle on them, or this one that's more rounded. So like I said, that's just down to personal preference as to what style of hook you use. The second essential for crocheting is your yarns. Yarns come in different types. So for example, here I have got 4-ply yarn, which is a thinner yarn. I have got DK yarns. I have got chunky, which as you can see is a bit thicker. I've got Aran yarns, and I've even got a super chunky, which is really thick. I would say that DK yarn is probably the best for learning to crochet with, personally. But the yarn that you want to use can be determined by what you're making, the pattern you're following, and even just your own personal preferences. As I mentioned when I was talking about the hook sizes, the hook to use with these yarns will be different depending on the yarn you're using. So obviously for like a super chunky yarn, you're going to need quite a big hook. You'll see sometimes it gives a suggestion on the labels, which it does here. So it's saying you'd want a 12mm crochet hook for this super chunky. But if we look on the DK, it's suggesting a 4mm hook. Or even gives the American hook size on those as well. Okay, sometimes though you may need to use a larger or smaller hook than it actually suggests, just depending on what you're going to be making. Once you've got your hook and your yarn, essentially you can now start to crochet. You do also need scissors when you are crocheting, for cutting your yarn off when you've finished using it. I use these embroidery scissors, but literally any type of scissors will do. I would recommend keeping scissors that are just for cutting sort of your threads, yarns, materials, for cutting your yarn, just to make sure that they are sharp so you get a nice clean cut, rather than scissors that have been blunted slightly by using them to cut paper with. Needles are also useful when you're crocheting for weaving in yarn ends when you have finished a crochet piece. Tapestry needles are best to use as they have got the blunted end, which helps prevent splitting of the yarn. But you also need to consider the size of the needle that you are going to use when you are sewing in ends. If you are using a thinner yarn, you wouldn't need such a big needle, as the eye of that needle would be big enough. So say like 4-ply yarn, you'd probably be all right with that. But if you are weaving in a chunkier yarn, you are going to want a needle with a bigger eye, just to make it easier for threading the needle, and keeping the needle threaded whilst you weave in the ends. Stitch markers are something useful to have when you're crocheting, but they are an optional extra. They're not absolutely necessary. Stitch markers come in different styles, so you get ones like this which just loop on. You can get ones that actually clip shut, and I've even got some that I have just made myself with trigger clasps and jump rings and charms. You can get really fancy stitch markers, and some people will even just collect stitch markers, but when you're just starting out with crochet, just simple ones like these or the ones that clip shut will do. They come in large packs and they only cost a few pounds, so they're not massively expensive, and they're really useful for popping into your crocheting work to help keep track of the ends of rows, or the starts of rounds if you're crocheting in a circle, or to keep track of where corners are if you're crocheting squares or rectangles, or sort of any shape with corners. And they can even help you with counting stitches. So if you're doing a larger piece, you might want to pop a stitch marker in every 10, 20, 50 stitches, whatever you're comfortable with, just to help you with counting your number of stitches, to make sure you don't lose any as you're crocheting. Unless you're supposed to lose them, of course, but that's something that will be covered in a later video. So that's all the things that I think are essential for starting to crochet. I have popped some links in the description to places where you can buy some of the items that I've shared in this video. And if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. In my next video, I will start sharing with you how to do some of the crochet stitches. And that's it. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.